Most folks are about as happy as they make up their minds to be, by Abraham Lincoln.
What is up, champions? Welcome to another episode of Champion Ridge, where we talk about the best-selling books and their best principles to help you with your best life. I'm the host, Willie Blake, and today I'm joined by the founder of Champion Circle, Mr. John Kovacs Jr. And we are very excited to continue into the book for this month, which is Brendon Burchard's book, High Performance Habits. If y'all are on video, go ahead and look at John's screen because you'll see the wonderful gray and neon green, I think is that color, book of high performance habits. So excited to talk about it. And we thought it would be great to jump into the realm of energy, because last week we talked about clarity, and that's getting clear on your mission, your vision, and what you want. And then another one is the energy that you're able to give and be able to receive from other people. So let's jump right into it with that conversation. John, just straight off the bat, why is it important to have such high energy when you do stuff?
Well, the first time I ever picked this book up, I think was in 2018, and someone recommended it to me. And without even knowing, I had created my own accountability methodology called the Irrefutable Laws of High Performance. And it was all centered on the 4 areas of accountability that can accelerate your results, right? And this came from the perspective of accountability coaching, helping people overcome their daily and weekly challenges so that they could achieve their goals faster. And when I read Brendon Burchard's book, I was realizing, wow, there are so many more habits out there that can be accomplished, achieved, and acquired so that we can get better performance. And you go back to energy. And I was like, there's a correlation there where energy is the unit of efforts, or the crossover of application into achieving goals. Because look, anyone anywhere can write down a goal and say, yep, that's my goal. But if they approach it with an energy of, yep, that's my goal, that's always going to be, that's their goal. But if they approach it with I am a champion, I can achieve this, I can pour as much energy into this, and all of a sudden energy goes where energy flows, and that will take you to the end result of what you want to accomplish. And so developing a high performance habit is all about the effort and intentionality that you put into it. Imagine putting in the energy of being an award-winning speaker when you walk onto stage. I had a weird, but it was great. It was a great experience. A couple of weeks ago, Willie, I walked on stage after being introduced as a 28-time #1 best-selling author. And I forgot that I had put that in my bio, and that's what they cued in on. I was speaking to a bunch of authors, and all of a sudden I raised my chin and I puffed my chest up and I put my shoulders back, and I realized I am a 28-time #1 best-selling author. And I started off with that famous line from Jim Carrey. When he walks out on stage, they introduce Jim Carrey as 2-time Emmy Award winner Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey begins and he says, "Hi, everyone. I am Jim Carrey, 2-time Emmy Award winner. But I'm not just any 2-time award winner. I go to bed and put my head on the pillow each night dreaming about becoming Jim Carrey, 3-time Emmy Award winner." And everyone laughs, and he says, because then I will be enough. It's a joke because he knows that the Emmys, the awards, Oscars, whatever it might be, they're important in their industries, but he's just outing them as like, this is just awards, guys. We're all enough and we're all able to. But anyways, to wrap up my comment, because I promised Willie I'd be fast with these, is that I took that energy and all of a sudden I was not just John, the speaker, keynoter. I was the 28-time award winner that was speaking to a group of authors that allowed them to say, wow, writing down every word he says, wow, taking advice, wow, following his accounts, yada, yada. So many great applications come from it. And it was literally a change in energy. It had nothing to do with truly who I am. And it had nothing to do with what I was doing. It just required a different approach. Is that kind of interesting? I mean, we can do this with every aspect of our lives.
Yeah, energy in general is just that interesting, because you think about it, when you were at, let's say, so this weekend I guess yesterday I was at a funeral, and the energy there, is a little bit more somber. It's a real sorrowful and everything, and everyone, they still have the smiles that you have when you have energy, but it's more just like, so good to see you. There's not much energy there, and I felt like as I was sitting there that I didn't feel up giddy and everything, which you shouldn't at a funeral. But then on the flip side, I'll go to like an amusement park. And at an amusement park, there are kids running around. Even the teenagers are running if it's big lines. And everyone's just so excited to get on the roller coasters and get that adrenaline hit and everything. And it's just so interesting that when it comes to energy, whatever energy you put out or is, I guess, in the environment is what you tend to absorb. Which I don't think a lot of people realize this, because I found the statistic on it that if you're in let's just say office workspace, and you're in a cubicle and there's someone next to you, if that person next to you is a high performer, someone who has a lot of energy, knows what they're doing, and they would be considered like probably the top 1% in the company, you yourself will perform 15% better than if he wasn't there, which is interesting. But the even more interesting part is if that person next to you is more of a low achiever, is just there to get a paycheck, isn't doing much of anything, then your work results get affected by 30%. And if that doesn't attest to how energy affects you, whether positive or negative, I don't know what else does.
Yeah, it's amazing how much that can add fuel to the fire. And I love that process, because if you think about it, this is truly a habit that if established early on in your goal setting and in your career, you will approach any step of your journey with a different intentionality. And I loved the funeral example because it reminded me of the pilot episode of, and this is going to relate to half our audience, and it's going to relate to maybe not half our audience, but the pilot episode of Desperate Housewives. Okay, this is an old classic. Okay, from the 90s and the early 2000s, and they're going to the funeral of one of their friends on the block, and what brought energy to the funeral and the after, whatever, the wake, right? The let's go to the house and have, actually I don't think that's the wake. Anyways, the energy that brought was the nasty potatoes or the macaroni cheese salad that the one lady brought over, and she told people not to eat it, but that only encouraged more people to eat it. And then the other part of that was the kids jumping in the pool. They had their swimsuits on underneath their suits and tuxedos. So it was awesome. So I like that example because your intention goes where your intention flows, and the same goes for energy, and that's powerful. So in sort of like transition, but more just addressing, we just got off a training where we were talking about autosuggestion, which is the third step to riches in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And autosuggestion truly is the vehicle to accomplishing your desire and putting faith behind it, right? And when you put energy into the habits and the daily repetition that is required of you to achieve your goals, then all of a sudden your energy is going to fuel the outcome a lot faster, a lot better, a lot more excitedly. Like when I've hit an accomplishment that something I worked really, really hard at, it is so rewarding. But when I accomplished something and I didn't work really hard and it was just kind of like a passive accomplishment, I tend to forget that accomplishment. It doesn't become a focus of my life. And also it doesn't become something I build upon because it was just, easy, mundane. It was almost too easy if it just comes nonchalantly. And that should be relatable because a lot of us do accomplish things on a daily basis. We get out of bed, we brush our teeth. Those are daily accomplishments. But when you put the right energy into accomplishing your daily and weekly tasks, you're going to have a transformational experience that will give you habits beyond measure. It's great, and it sets you apart as a high performer.
It does. Our other co-host, Ian Sturmer, he always says this when it comes to light, which is if you just turn on a light switch, it'll illuminate the room. But if you take that same light and squish it down into a singular line, then what do we call it? It's called a laser. And it can go through almost anything. So when we're able to take that energy and just really nail it down into a focus point in one thing, John, you're absolutely right. You become the high performer. You become someone who is able to do the things, that your energy that you go out to the task is different. You wake up in the morning being like, I got today. Today's going to be awesome. Then people around you, you're just like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? And then they start feeling that. They get the energy. And it just throughout the whole entire day, everything just feels different. And man, if I could just say how important it is to like wake up with the right energy. Like the first thing you do every single day is wake up. If I could just nail it down, like the importance of waking up with the right energy, of just being like, today is the day. It's going to happen. You attack that day like there's nothing else that's important. It's so amazing what you can accomplish, and you can accomplish more than you thought you can. And sadly, on the flip side, some people, probably most people, I'll go out on a limb and be bold enough to say most people wake up with the wrong energy, to where they wake up being like, got another job to go to, got to deal with the kids, insurance did that thing the other day, now I got to do that, right? Just me talking about this is bringing down my energy. Having that excitement with the energy, it's so important, especially when we talk about Brendon Burchard, when we talk about high performance habits. Let's start waking up every single day with a plan, with something that's just like, I'm going to accomplish this today, and I'm going to be excited because if I do, it's going to change my life. And we should all have kind of those things going on. I could jump into so many different things, but I'll yield my time to John.
No, I love it. These examples are running through my head. I literally thought back to the Rugrats. You remember the Rugrats? If you ever watched the Rugrats, that little cartoon on Nickelodeon, well, when those kiddos come up with a plan, I mean, that's the premise of every episode, right? They're stuck in the playpen, and then all of a sudden they want to break out of the playpen to accomplish something. And they always draw out a plan. They talk about it. They use toys as obstacles and objects as part of the plan, right? And what happens to the plan? Things always go awry, but then somehow, some way they find out either the best outcome comes about, or they overcome a challenge, whether that's dealing with their cousin Angelica or whatever it might be, right? So it's really funny how that works out. And if you think about like stories like The Hobbit, well, The Hobbit was an incredible story. I mean, a hobbit that leaves the Shire, that goes on this wild adventure and survives to tell the tale and come back. Well, that's the entire premise of the Lord of the Rings. I mean, what makes a hobbit interesting? Well, it's not when they're hanging out at their hobbit home. Although people would argue like that's the first thing they do when they travel to New Zealand. They want to go to the hobbit grounds and they want to see the actual hobbit homes, right? But what really makes a hobbit exciting is when they leave the house, and that plan and that storyline comes from the energy and intention of doing something different, going on an adventure. So when you think of every day, not as the mundane, the minutia, right? You think of it as, today's going to be a great day. I know this is hard to train your body and your mind to think this way, but really, if you can do it, it will be transformative. It will change your life. And so when I talk about irrefutable laws of high performance, I talk about, number one, having a very clear goal and desire. Number two, having an accountability partner who you can trust. Number three, trusting in a process, a blueprint, whether that's through a coach, a mentor, or someone professional who can guide you along the way. And then fourth and foremost is surrounding yourself with the right community. When you approach all four of those things together, you've established an accountability system that is unbeatable by anyone else. And you can truly accomplish more in little time. And you don't even have to have ADHD like me in order to do that. You just need the intention behind it.
I was going to ask that as we are wrapping this up, like what are some practical things that we can do with our final thoughts? And you're done. You named them. Boom. We're done with this episode. It's my final thoughts with this. It's the energy that we carry determines the things that we want. And a lot of us think that if we believe in something that we're going to achieve it, which is true. That is the first step. But a lot of us believe in something and they might do something else. That's why we have secrets. That's why we have dark secrets deep in our hearts of, oh, I can't let other people know that. And it's a side of, I have found that when you try to carry the right energy, when you try to be a high performer, when you try to accomplish something, three things pop into my mind. The first is you got to have the good word. You got to be putting positivity in your mind. You got to be reading self-help books. You got to be getting those in there. The second thing is you got to be aiming towards something, what you could call like a mission or a calling or a vision, whatever it is for you. You got to be aiming towards something that drives you forward and that you're going to be assisting other people, helping them out or helping yourself out. And then the third one, which John, you mentioned. Third one is having a friend, having someone there with you on that journey. And I've found time and time again that when you get the good word, when you get that self-help stuff in, when you have a mission that you're going towards, and then when you have a friend to do it with, those three things, if you have those three things, I'd say 95% of the time you're going to accomplish what you want. But we always get stuck. I know I've done it several times. I always get stuck and I always think back, which of these three am I missing? And usually most of the time I'm missing one of those three. So that's what's worked for me. John, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts is it starts with self. I mean, you've got to be the self-motivator. I've been approached by so many people who say, motivate me, motivational speaker. And I say, no, because it's not my responsibility to motivate you. That's the easy part. It's finding motivation. It's application. It's repetition. It's putting in the groundwork, getting your shoulders dirty, your hands dirty, and focusing on the trail that leads to the accomplishments that you desire most. And most people think they know what they want, but truly they're not willing to put in the effort. Therefore, it's just a wish and not a desire. And I think that that's just the biggest reminder is how big are your dreams? Do you want to think bigger? If you don't, cool. Step out of the light. Don't let these personal and professional development tactics and strategies and techniques drown you in thoughts of inadequacy, because truly you are capable, but it's all based on what you desire to do. And so that's not the invitation or cop out. This is me saying, hey, step off the podium if that's not what you truly desire. But if you want to be the winner, if you want to be the champion, if you want to truly accelerate and have all the success in the world, and you're willing to do what it takes, then you speak in the language and you're doing the things and you're adding the energy and the intentionality and you're creating the path in which you will accomplish those things. So don't get lost in the minutia of this process if you're not willing to take the steps and action. And I'll finish with this, Willie. Everything you need is already inside you. All you got to do is take the steps forward to accomplish that.
Well said. And with that wraps up another episode of Champion Reads. If you found inspiration in this episode, go ahead and subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, as well as go to our website, mychampionscircle.com, where you'll find the link to the podcast, links to our socials, and everything else going in the Champion Circle universe. Until next time, champions, continue to be the best version of yourself. Continue to move forward, and always remember, it's already inside of you. And all you got to do is choose to take that step forward. We'll see you on the next episode of Champion Reads.